I know, this is probably a very controversial opinion. I'm not doing this to be a contrarian or to call attention to myself. This is my genuine opinion. I'm happy people got what they wanted out of this show and this last season. And I'm genuinely sad that it didn't live up to what I wanted it to do. So I'm just sharing my opinion about it. So yeah, I wanted to clarify that before beginning. So on with the video, I guess. It's been almost 2 weeks since the Better Call Saul season finale came out, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I find myself, as in this is my opinion and it's totally cool if you were appealed by the direction the show took, feeling like this season was particularly disappointing and underwhelming. I'm honestly let down and I didn't even have huge expectations for it. I'm not one of those people who think this show is a masterpiece or that it's better than its predecessor. I like this show well enough. There are many amazing characters and performances in it. The filmmaking is as nuanced as the rest of Vince Gilligan's projects, and there are episodes that can equal intensity and storytelling genius that of Breaking Bad. But come on, Breaking Bad is genuinely perfect. It doesn't get even close to being my favorite show, but I can acknowledge its ability to not have a single bad or even mediocre episode. Really, what other show can you say that about? Every episode was necessary in building up plots, characters, and tension. Never did I finish watching a Breaking Bad episode thinking, meh, that was alright. Could have skipped it though. I was always left craving for more. That is not something I can say for Better Call Saul. Again, I do really like it, but the first 2-ish seasons were not that engaging. And even the better seasons had a few episodes that had me confused as to what I was supposed to get out of them once the credits started rolling. And sure, maybe it's not imperative for a show to keep you at the edge of your seat with every episode, but you do need to keep an audience invested. And without a clear plot thread, you can lose interest quickly. This issue is glaringly evident with this last season of the show. Before we get started, I do want to give a spoiler warning for, well, the last season of Better Call Saul. The whole show, I mean, I assume anyone watching this video already watched it, but I feel like I have to give the warning. So, there it is. You've been warned. I'll talk about what I did like from this season first, just so I don't feel like I'm trying to shit on it, since I did like it as a whole. My favorite thing by far was Saul Goodman and Kim Wexler as a couple. Seeing them act together to play epic pranks on Howard was super fun. Seeing them break up and divorce was heartbreaking. And seeing them say goodbye, sort of reconciling, was honestly beautiful. And by separate, I loved Kim's acceptance of the fact that her relationship with Saul is really hurting other people. And even though she loves him, they must separate. Seeing where her life has gone in the future, seeing her confess and break down was also really powerful and sad. And Saul, what can I even say about what his character goes through? His journey from Jimmy to Saul to Gene and then back to Jimmy was one of the most compelling and more interesting character arcs I've seen, and it was perfectly executed. A true example of the storytelling master that is Vince Gilligan. The last 2 episodes of the series were genuinely as great and perfect as they could have been. The subtle camera work, the nuanced performances, the dialogue, and the parts with almost no dialogue came together to create an amazing character piece that perfectly stuck the landing by understanding exactly what it had to do with these 2 characters to make their narrative completely satisfying. Just like with El Camino, it was a great send-off for the protagonist and a great addition to the character. Other than that, I really liked seeing more of the classic slipping Jimmy elaborate plans. That one scene where all the prisoners start chanting Better Call Saul is so great and borderline surrealistic. It's probably in my top 3 scenes out of the Breaking Bad universe. Howard and Lalo being buried under the lab is a neat little haunting thing that will always be on the back of your mind when rewatching Breaking Bad. The action was great, and I really liked everything with Nacho and Mike until the very end. The way some plots were resolved in this season was my least favorite part by far. I felt like the death of Nacho, Howard, and Lalo were all anticlimactic for different reasons, and since those are the endings to the main plots, they also affected the way I look back on the show as a whole. Let's start with Nacho. His death, I think, was affected more by the moment they decided to do it more than the way it happened. If they gave him more things to do and killed him on the 7th, 8th, maybe even 9th episode, it would have gained way more momentum and felt more important. As is, he dies right after escaping the Salamancas on the 3rd episode. while the rest of the characters are still going through the motions and haven't gotten to any kind of cathartic moment. So when I saw his death scene, I just thought to myself, really? Already? With Lalo, I think there was more of an issue with the fact that there was no tension for me. Of course, Lalo was going to die because he's not in Breaking Bad. The lab never gets discovered and Gus lives, so we knew exactly what was gonna happen. Sure, Gus got to tell him off like he never could with Don Eladio, but for the same reasons and the fact that Lalo isn't really on a higher rank than Gus, it just doesn't hold the same weight. This could have also been fixed with Nacho having more involvement at this point in the season. Maybe Lalo takes Nacho hostage while he was trying to escape or something. Then you can make Lalo's plan different and not involve Howard. Cause what I didn't like about the way Howard went out is that it was too sudden. Obviously that was the point, but we spent the entire first half of this season building up this plan to end the whole Sandpiper case once and for all. I loved all this planning, all this classic Slip and Jimmy stuff, and I was expecting a great climax where they complete the plan, they ruin Howard's life, and then the repercussions of that play out. Maybe in this version Howard ends up actually killing himself or something, and you get very similar results that don't change the very ending of the show that much. I just really hated how that whole plot, all that build-up, ended with Howard not even being able to tell Kim and Saul off for their actions. He just dies. That climax I was so excited to see with such a memorable character just did not happen. We are left with plots that have been built up from the very first season, all concluding in extremely anticlimactic ways. One because of the timing, another because we knew exactly what was gonna happen, and one that built up to nothing. So, because of all that, I feel like it lessened the impact Nacho, Mike, Gus, Lalo, and Howard had on the show as a whole, since they don't reach any climax I was particularly engaged with. They could have given Nacho a personal goal instead of fulfilling a meaningless purpose, one that includes the other three characters and can lead to something more interesting and unexpected, something that gives more meaning to his character story, other than he shouldn't have gotten into the drug business, which was pretty clear from early on, but no. What I felt Howard's death caused is for the Sandpiper case, the plot that started everything, to be immediately thrown away, and it deprived Howard's character of any resolution with Kim and Saul, and vice versa. Sure, it led to the protagonist's relationship breaking point, but that's the only purpose it serves. To me, it left one of my favorite characters and the main plot of the show unfinished. I felt like there were episodes of the show missing, where these endings are more justified, but no. This is all we have. I'm starting to see how this show is a perfect example of both why prequels almost always never work and an example of how to actually make them work. On one hand, when you tell a story just to explain how we get to a point we already know, all your twists and turns will fall flat. Cause it doesn't matter how many new characters you introduce, you know that in this type of story, they'll end up dying, and the characters that did appear in the original show will be safe. But in the other hand, when you tell a story to expand a character we don't know that much about, more than to show how he gets to a specific place, there is a ton of room to show a different version of the character and what made him the way he is. And you can introduce other characters that don't necessarily need to be dead to explain why they're not in the original show. That's why I do like this show quite a bit, and also why I have to apologize for comparing it to Breaking Bad, because they're doing really different things. While Breaking Bad is more about the fall of an everyday man into absolute madness and evil, building an empire and becoming one of the biggest crime lords in the drug world, Better Call Saul is about a guy who tends to make the wrong choices, where these choices lead him and why he's making them. It's about understanding him, and we get to understand other people around him, his family, his partner, his workmates, and how they affect him and those same choices. As a prequel to Breaking Bad, we also get to see his starts in crime, which is fun, but not the focus, nor the best part of the show. Almost the same goes to Mike's character, who we do get to explore more of in the show, but sadly the focus does remain almost exclusively in the prequel aspect of it. How he meets Saul, how he starts working with Gus, and how he's in charge of building the lab. The rather less interesting aspect of the show, but the point still remains. The strongest quality of this show is its character building, the character moments, and I love all of it. Getting to empathize with Saul, a character that originally seemed to be just the comic relief, turned out to be someone carrying a ton of baggage that was slowly desensitized by his past. There's also a bunch of things that recontextualize what we see of Mike in Breaking Bad, like his relationship with Jesse after having failed to protect Nacho, or the final confrontation scene with Walter, seeing all the things Mike had to do for the lab and Frink's operations to work, all to give his son's family the life they deserve. And oh my god, Kim Wexler is such an amazing character. I'm completely in love with her. She brings a ton to the table and has become one of my favorite characters in this whole universe. All of that without mentioning the other new characters who are also great and bring unique dynamics to the narrative. It's all genuinely great, but at the end of the day, the way a story ends defines whether it was worthwhile. If it's not cohesive, if it's not satisfying, then why bother, right? So the way I see it, the last 2 episodes of this show perfectly close a perfect story, that of the past of Saul Goodman as Jimmy McGill. We explore him as a character, his relationship with his brother and with Kim, and what happened after Breaking Bad. Sadly, there are another 11 episodes this season that ended the Sandpiper/Howard and the Nacho/Mike plots in ways that to me were anticlimactic and uninteresting, effectively killing around 65% of the show, rendering it, in my opinion, and it hurts to say this, unrewatchable. There are many great episodes I will revisit. I'll probably just select a bunch of them and pretend like this was a mini-series dedicated only to Saul Goodman, and I'll watch it as a part of my Breaking Bad rewatches. This way, I'll look back on Better Call Saul as a perfect show, just as good as its predecessor. But hey, as I've stated before, that's just my opinion. If you disagree and have your own opinion, I invite you to share it with me in the comments. Now, if you'd like the taste of butter, a pretty dress, or to live deliciously, consider subscribing and giving this video a like if you enjoyed it. My name is Midsommar, and I'll see you on the next one. Just please, for the love of Vince Gilligan, don't let them make another spin-off. There's nowhere else to go. These 2 shows were pretty good. That's it. Well, maybe there is another. But after that, no more. For real. You are done.